Today I will show you how I created this atmospheric animation in Blender and DaVinci Resolve. But first, let's briefly examine this Blender scene. I have a sketch that I drew in Photoshop, and I'm going to use this in this cinematic background with some references for inspiration and mood. This pretty simple scene, as you may see, just a couple of pieces of terrain and some objects. Everything seems like nothing special, but it brings this amazing result. Alright, let's open a new Blender scene and I will show you how to create an atmospheric background using Blender. I already added references and my sketch here, a base camera that I'm going to use with almost standard settings like 50mm focal length. Only one thing, I want to change the resolution to something wider, like this one. This is not a standard 4K format, but as for me, it's pretty well fit for some landscape backgrounds and it often used in cinematic and production. I recommend using collection for each part of your project to avoid some mess in Blender scene. Start creating terrain with Landscape add-on. This is free Blender add-on that can help us create realistic terrain just using ready-to-use presets. Here are a lot of different landscape presets, but I will probably pick large terrain. It creates such terrain surface. Scale it by z-axis to make it flat like on my sketch. It mostly should look like flat terrain, not so noisy. Also, I want to add another plane. This is going to be some kind of water surface. So I place this like this for now. I need to select the landscape surface to apply scale because I'm going to sculpt a little bit of details on this terrain. Especially I want to create some interesting remnants of the lake. I don't know, maybe puddles. Here I think will be this station with radars, so I need a more flat surface here. Also, I want to add some hills in the foreground. I'm sculpting here and look at this point in my camera to see how it will look in the camera. For me, it's more important how it looks in the camera than in the viewport. Okay, I need another landscape, some mountain. I need these mountains to use as a background hills to create an interesting horizon shape, so it will not be as flat and boring as an ordinary landscape. Also, I would rather prefer to put them much further from the camera. It's necessary when I will be working with the depths on compositing later. The further they are from the camera, the better the depth effect I will get. I leave it at some kind of like this. And another step, I have these radar models which I found on a station. I will put the link in the description for these models if you need them. So I select all these models and copy and paste them into my Blender scene. Now let's place them according to my sketch. These models are without textures, but it's even better for me because I want to use such rusty metal texture for these models as they are already here for a long time, so place them according to my concept. I also have some building models. These are warehouses, but I guess they will fit to the scene. Maybe add this one. I also put the link to these models in the description. Look at the description for my videos more often. I leave there links to some useful services and models and also links to my Patreon where you can find a lot of interesting materials, masterclass, etc. So for another part of creating this scene, I found some interesting models for this artwork in Blender kit, just to fill some empty spaces. This 3D scanner, I guess, will be some building on the lake shore, what remains from the lake. And another building for composition balance somewhere here, just to balance my composition. So I like it, and this is all about the scene in Blender. Now let's move to the main scene, lighting. And light a crucial part here, because all the magic here is in the light. I add a new collection for light, and in this artwork I want to use a combination of two lights. The first one is the sun. Move and rotate it closer to the horizon sunlight like sunset. It should be some warm light color, I guess, and I increase the power of this light to get contrast shadows. Something like this. Now I need another light in this scene, but this will be a simple background color for ambient light. Just I need to open a world settings in this shader editor, because here I can use the black body node, which allows me to choose the correct temperature of the light. Some kind of like closer to the warm color, maybe like this. And here I decrease the power of this background light. So this is what I need, but only remove this color light from the background to enable transparency in the render settings here. Such combination of the lights allows me to have contrast light and control the shadows so it's not so too dark. I like the shadow in the foreground like in this image. I guess it would be interesting to do the same in my scene. So to do this I just add a new Blender cube, scale it, make it a huge object that will cast a shadow in the foreground like on the reference. I place it some kind of like this for now. I will see how it works when I scatter grass to get some light parts like sun rays on this grass. So now let's add some textures. For the ground I have such soil textures from Megascans. I think it's not even important which one, because I will scatter grass on the surface. I do unwrap the surface. And let's scale it to some realistic scale. So good. Add new material for radar model. As I said before, I want to have some rusty metal materials here. It looks good with default settings, but I want to make the scale of this texture a little bit smaller. It should fit some size of the object, like this radar is a huge object. Okay, select all other objects and this one with material, press Ctrl L to link material, and this material will apply to other objects. Good. I think we need to make the materials of these buildings a little bit desaturated to match them with other objects in the scene. Alright, grass. I have this grass as I remember these Megascan models, pre-models, looks like this. So I add all grass models to one collection, and to scatter this grass I will use GScatter, free add-on for scattering something in Blender. I pick the surface and I need to select this grass collection in geometry. It looks pretty good. So, since I'm going to make an animation scene, I want this grass also have some wind animation. It's pretty easy to do using wind in GScatter, which you can find here in the rotation and add as a modifier to the scatter system. If I play an animation, you can see that the grass is moving slightly on the wind, Not too much, but I don't need that grass blown away at all. So in this way, using GScatter, we can easily add wind animation for grass field in Blender. Alright, I need some render passes like depths, denoise data, and cryptomate object and material. Do render only one frame for working in Blender Compositing. I need to remove this transparent hole in the render and add some atmospheric sky. I have 3 sky footages like this one, atmospheric stormy sky. Another one, I love this one, despite of this mostly static footage, this lighting is really amazing. Finally this one. I will work with 3 pieces of footage and we'll see which one will be better. But in the beginning we should set the right frames for each footage. My timeline is 300 frames, so I have to set the same value to each footage. Everywhere 300 frames. That means I want to use only 300 frames from this footage, even this footage has more frames. Okay, I start with this one. I like this sky. To combine this sky with the render, we need alpha over node and connect this sky to this node. And we can see that the sky doesn't fit the render size. So we need to find scale node, change to render size. And now the sky is cropped to the render size. Also, I can add transform node to move the sky by the y-axis to get some interesting position. So, alright, our goal is to combine real footage with CGI render properly. Now everything is a different gamma and color. First of all, I add color balance and RGB curve. Using these 2 nodes, I can make some color grading and add a little bit of contrast to the render. Just not too much. Exaggerate gain to add more lights in the light parts of the render and maybe pull color to the warm tone. But lift relates to the black point of the image, I pull lift to some color closer to the sky's black point. As we can see, the image is already much interesting. Next I want to work with depths. For cinematic artwork, doesn't matter static or animation, depth is crucial thing. That is why I need a depth render path. To work with depth render path in Blender we need map range node. Connect the noise depth to map range and this is our depth path. So I can choose the necessary part of the whole range. I don't need the foreground, I need everything closer to the horizon. Okay, add mix color node to the main compositing line and I'm going to use this map range as a factor and change the blending mode to screen. Now using mix color I can change the color and add the correct depth color. It brings such a picturesque effect to the artwork and combines 3D render with real video footage. I need to select a color closer to the sky color so that this horizon line will merge with the sky by color tone. Maybe like this for now. I want to add some gaze to this horizon and cover it with some fog. This should be the one environment, it must feel like these clouds are above the station. So I need another map range node. Connect the noise depths and select the range of necessary depths. Also, I need to touch the part of the sky, but as we can see, I have only information from the render without sky. That means we need to add this information. I add alpha over node, and I have the alpha channel in the render layers. So I can use this information as a factor here, just reverse connections. Now we add sky to the depth path, but if I zoom it, we may see some unpleasant artifacts like this dark line between alpha and render. To remove this, I add a road node and add this to the alpha channel. This node allows us to shift the alpha channel and remove this border on some steps, and now it looks correct. But I need to use the sky only part which is closer to the horizon. To do this, I need a simple mask. Add a new mask, scale it. I select these 2 points and make feather to create a soft border of this mask. Next, I need a mask node to select this created mask, and everything combines using the color mix node. Change this color to black and use this mask as a factor. In this way, I can select what part I want to use, just move this mask. So, I add a new color mix node to my render and going to use all these nodes as a mask. Look at this. And now if I change the color, I can achieve some results like deep gaze on the far distance from the camera without using any volume fog. Of course, would be great to have some opportunity to control this fog. To do this, I add a color ramp here, and if I change the white color, this gives me some control of the transparency of this fog. Finally, we need to match the sky to the color gamma of the render. I need the color ramp node to which I place where is my sky footage. And let's change the color to fit the main gamma. Alright, before and after. Looks good. Maybe change a little bit map range. Yeah, it's okay. And the second step, I add CryptoMate. I want to select all these objects, just press the plus button and pick each one to create a mask. I need this mask because I want to make changes to these objects. For example, add a color balance node and use this mask to impact only these objects. I guess it's possible to change a little bit of colors, so it would be more organically implemented to the scene. Yeah, this is amazing, it's pretty good. I would make some color grading here. Yeah. Okay, let's add some post effects like glare, fog glow, and lens distortion. It brings some cinematic effects to render and reduces digital effect. After compositing, I prefer to make final post-production in DaVinci Resolve, but basic corrections and effects are possible to add in Blender Compositing. Alright, one more thing. Due to we added the sky in Compositing, this sky doesn't reflect in the water. We need to fix this moment. How to do this? I add CryptoMate and select this water surface. It will be a mask. I add Transform and Mix Color node. Mix Color place here, connect this CryptoMate as a mask. Since I already have the sky in the scene, I simply connect this sky to the new Transform node and connect to Mix Color node. But we need to flip the sky because it's reflection. Maybe even connect the sky with color gradient to fit the main color tone. And use this transform node, I can find some interesting position of the sky related to the main sky. So I leave it like this, and Let's change the blending mode to add. Maybe I would add color balance to make some changes, of course using this Cryptomate as a mask. So, before and after. Now the sky is reflected in the water and everything looks correct. Okay, I did a test render and we can see our animation. Yeah, this lighting is great implemented to the render. Everything looks really natural. Just some kind of noise, but I will remove it in DaVinci Resolve. I did the same for other sky footages, just connect the new sky to the compositing setup. That's why compositing in Blender is an amazing tool. I can work in one scene and use 3 different sky footages and change them, just connect a new one. Let's see how this sky looks on preview. This one also looks good as for me. In this case, even more dynamic in this scene. Okay, connect the last one. But this one has a little different color gamma, so I need to try to change the color balance to fit the main render. I don't know. I think I like the previous skies more than the last one. But well, I leave this one too. Alright, we've done a lot, create a 3D scene, combine 3D render with video footage in compositing, and let me show you the final stage on my workflow, color grading in DaVinci Resolve. Despite of we did a lot of color correction in Blender compositing doesn't have tools for color grading as DaVinci Resolve. This is powerful tool for color grading. Honestly, our animation already looks great and in some cases it might be the final result, but I would rather prefer to make small adjustments in DaVinci Resolve. And the first thing that I want to do is denoising. Our animation is generally quite clean, but some artifacts need to be removed. Maybe it's not visible because of YouTube compression, but let's open these scopes to see what I mean. If I remove noise, see what happens on the scope, how the waveform becomes softer. See the difference? As already said, DaVinci Resolve has really powerful denoise, willing to remove all unpleasant artifacts in your animation. Okay, I add a new node and now I'm going to work with primaries. This is some kind of what we already saw in Blender color balance node, lift gamma gain. I would maybe decrease lift a little bit, also saturation, and exaggerate a little bit of gain. Maybe touch contrast. Good, add another node. In this node I want to add a mask and select this grass area. I want this part will be lighter. First of all, I pull up gain and go to curves. Here I can work with colors locally. I can select the yellow color range and raise the saturation only for the selected color range, as the same for luminosity. See how it works. I move only the yellow color in the selected area. Also, I can use hue to reduce the red color in this area. Let's add another node, and now I want to make such an effect. I add a mask to the foreground, and using this mask I reduce saturation and make this spot a little bit darker. So good, see the difference. This is render from Blender, and this is graded footage in DaVinci Resolve. For the final touch, the final node, I want to add film grain with the default settings. This effect adds some cinematic effect like film grain, so that the footage will look like captured on the camera. So, the final animation. But I have another two animations, as you remember, and to avoid spending time to make the same color gradient adjustments, DaVinci Resolve allows us to copy and paste everything from one footage. I select the second animation and press the middle mouse button on the first one, and all corrections will apply to this animation. The same for the third animation. And now we can see all three footages. By the way, write in the comment below which one do you like more. I hope this video was interesting for you and you found some useful information. If you're still not subscribed to my channel, don't hesitate to subscribe now and smash the like button. So, thank you for watching this video.